My parents, sister, and I moved into a new home roughly 10 minutes from our old one. Because of the pandemic, there was a stay-at-home order, and we didn't know how long that would go on for. So if we were to stay indoors and spend most of our time there, we needed a bit more space, especially if we caught the virus and needed to isolate. This house was much bigger than our last. It had an extra bedroom on the main floor in case we had a guest over and they wanted to spend the night. We also had a second full-size bathroom on the main floor, which meant, compared to our old house that had one bathroom, we wouldn't have to wait in line anymore. The best part is that I finally didn't have to share a bedroom with my sister. I had my own space. I could decorate it the way I wanted to, and I could be alone or have my friends over without having to include her in my business. I didn't hate my sister, but she was still 10 and I was 17. We clearly didn't share the same interests, but as a big sister, I was very much protective of her. I spent most of my summer hanging out in the backyard. We had an above-ground pool in one corner and a trampoline in the other. There was lots of space to just hang out. I would sunbathe on the deck most afternoons. My 18th birthday was near the middle of August, and my parents were also going to be visiting my grandma a couple hours away to check in on her during the pandemic, because she lived alone. They would most likely spend the weekend there. I asked my parents if it was okay to invite some of my friends over to hang out and watch a movie for my birthday. They were a bit resistant at first because of the risk of getting COVID, but they said to make sure my friends weren't feeling ill or had been mingling around too much with others. The other catch was I had to include my sister. The day of my birthday, I went to grab a couple of things from the grocery store like chips and candy. When I got back, my parents were already packed and ready to go. My mom handed me a gift saying it was from all of them. I opened it up. It was a beautiful tennis bracelet. I thanked them. My parents told me to call them for anything and to not wander out at night, as well as make sure the door was locked and alarm was set. I agreed. My friends Janessa and Cynthia came over at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was making some peanut butter sandwiches then. My sister Emma was in her room reading a book. I called her out, and then we all sat at the kitchen table eating our sandwiches. We spent most of the afternoon out on the deck tanning, while Emma jumped on the trampoline. It was around 8 p.m., and the sun was slightly setting, when my friends thought it would be nice to take a walk to the corner store and grab a slushie. My sister reminded me that our parents didn't want us to go outside. I promised her that I would buy her a Slurpee if she kept quiet and didn't tell Mom and Dad about it. It was the first time in my life I bribed my sister, and she had my back. The warm breeze felt nice as we sipped on our Slurpees while walking home. The road leading to my neighborhood didn't have any streetlights part way, so it was pitch dark. We had to use our phone flashlight to guide us back. Once we got inside the house, we sat on the couch and put on a trending horror movie on Netflix. My sister decided she was a big girl and promised to not run into my room at night and sleep next to me. So, I agreed and let her stay. The majority of the movie, though, she kept the blanket over her head. After the movie was done, it was close to midnight. Cynthia and Janessa said it was pretty late and thought maybe they could stay the night. It was a good idea, and we did have a spare room downstairs where they could crash. They checked in with their parents, who were okay with it, and I gave them PJs to change into after they showered. My sister Emma decided to call it a night and went to bed. We girls stayed up a little bit longer talking about what our last year of high school would be like when we returned to school in the fall. Around 2 a.m., we were ready to go to bed ourselves. I showed my friends to their room. Everything was neat and the bed was made, but on top of it was a little round gold box. It was strange because I'd never seen it before and I'd been in the guest room many times. Maybe my mom left it there. Or could it be part 2 of my present? I picked up the gold box and took off the lid. Inside was a miniature teddy bear made out of a rubber kind of material, similar to the erasers that you would put on the back of your pencils. There were also shiny stickers and some round blue hard candies. Strange, I thought. It could belong to a kid. Maybe it's Emma's, but it was a bit too late to wake her up. I would ask her about it in the morning. I said goodnight to my friends and went up to my room. The next day during breakfast, I brought the little box with the random things to the table where Emma was eating her cereal. I told her that she shouldn't leave her things lying around the house. She told me it wasn't hers. I thought she was lying, and she didn't want my friends to think she was a baby or anything for playing with stuff like that. But my sister was sincere. She had a serious look on her face. She said she wouldn't leave an old candy in a box That was sure. The candy looked stale. It had white spots around it. I took it back to the guest room and I put it in the closet shelf, then shut the door. I went back to eating my breakfast. Cynthia and Janessa left shortly after, and they invited me to an end-of-summer party at Blake's house the following weekend. I couldn't wait to chill out with all of my friends I haven't seen since the end of the school year last June. As I closed the front door and walked back to the kitchen, something shiny caught my eye. I looked into the guest room, and sitting on the bed was a gold box. A fear shot through my body, and it was mixed with anger, because maybe my sister was playing a prank on me. I picked up the box, and the things inside rattled. I took it upstairs to her bedroom. Emma was quietly drawing in her sketchbook. I asked her if she moved the gold box from the closet to the bed. Emma told me she didn't know I had put it in the closet in the first place, and if she did, she would need a stepladder to grab it because she couldn't reach. I could see that my sister was tearing up, and I guess it was because I didn't give her the benefit of the doubt lately and I kept accusing her about things, especially about some stupid box. I told her it's fine and not to worry. I placed the box on the night table in my room. I wasn't too hungry for dinner or in the mood to cook, so I ordered a medium pepperoni pizza, and that was enough food for the both of us. We washed it down with a can of Coke. I then took a shower and brushed my teeth. I made sure Emma was in her room and almost asleep. I then set the alarm and went to bed. I heard the alarm disarm, and I literally sat up in my bed, heart beating, and I looked at the clock. It was 4 a.m. I heard keys jingling and my parents' voices. I was slightly relieved, and I walked downstairs. I saw them in the kitchen making a pot of coffee. They were startled to see me and apologized for waking me up. I told them it was fine. My mom let me know that Grandma was a bit ill, and she set up a nurse to visit her a couple times a week. I told her that was thoughtful. After all, Grandma, when she was much younger, would do a lot for us. I let my mom know that Cynthia and Janessa had stayed over the night before in the guest room because it was too late. My mom didn't mind, but she said she would need to wash the bedsheets. I told her I would grab it for her and put it in the laundry room. I walked to the guest room, and when I turned on the light, there it was, the gold box. I swear I had put it on the nightstand in my room. This was the second time it had moved on its own. I picked up the box and took it to the kitchen. I asked my parents if they had ever seen this gold box before. My dad said he did a couple times, and he saw it lying on the bed but put it on the dresser, assuming it was one of ours. My mom said she had seen it too, but she never opened it to look inside. I opened the box and I showed them. And then I told them it wasn't mine or Emma's, and I didn't know where it came from. My parents also can't recall buying it for us. I could feel the blood drain from my face. My parents asked me if I was all right, and I told them I was. I just was feeling tired and would go back to Emma's room and sleep in her bed as we were doing some much-needed sister bonding. My parents totally bought that idea and thought it was such a cute thing, but the truth is, I was freaked out and would not be able to fall asleep in my room at all. Emma noticed me crawling into her bed, but she just turned the other way and didn't question it. The next day, I did not feel well rested, but I had to go online because something was telling me to check the internet. The first thing I typed was my house address, and only pictures of it showed up on Google. I then typed in something along the lines of my address mixed in with words of death, ghost, tragedy, and those keywords worked, but not to my liking. There was a bad thing that happened in the house we lived in. Not recently, but near the late 70s. A mother had murdered her 7-year-old son after her newfound boyfriend told her to, otherwise he threatened to leave her. Apparently, he wanted to begin a new life without old baggage. Police reports say that the boy's name was Raymond, and his body suffered 30 separate wounds caused by a kitchen knife. The room he was killed in was the one in the main level. Today, we call that our guest room. I felt sick and sad. I then closed up my laptop and sat in silence. I believed something paranormal was definitely going on in the house, and that gold box had to have belonged to the murdered boy. I knew we wouldn't move from this house in a long time, but I also wish that my sister and I shared rooms because I don't think I'll be able to find any excuse every night to go sleep in her room going forward. But one thing is for sure, I will avoid looking into the guest room or even going in there for a very long time. Hey Scary Story fans! I hope you enjoyed these original stories written and narrated by me. If you have a story that is fiction or non-fiction and would like it shared in the next video, you can send your submissions to suzannad.tv@gmail.com. In the meantime, sweet dreams!